Hi everyone, hope we're doing alright. Today I'm going to challenge myself a little bit and see how many bandanas I can crochet in one day. You might be asking, why am I doing this to myself? And I actually have a good reason. Over the last few months I've been working on 2 bandana patterns and the pattern testing has just been completed, so I'm currently working on the final draft. So not only do I want to see how much I can crochet in 24 hours, but I also want to take this opportunity to test this pattern and some of the modifications that are included within it, as well as testing out different yarn types and materials. Both of these bandanas are inspired by my retro filet crochet tie, and I've made 2 versions because whilst I was making all of the prototypes for this pattern, I actually had 2 that I liked equally, so I thought I might as well develop both of them. The first one is this retro bandana, which reads more as a typical bandana, and this version is made out of acrylic, and I want to try it out with cotton and bamboo. As I said earlier, I want to try a few size modifications just to check that I'm 1000% happy with them. The next one is a retro bandana bonnet, and if you tie it around your chin, it's kind of like a draped bonnet, and if you end up tying it like a bandana, it reads more as a headscarf. So not only are both of these cute, they're kind of different styles of bandana, so you have variety as to what you prefer. The bandana bonnet is made out of a mix of bamboo and cotton, and I do want to try it out with acrylic just to see how that works. And again, I want to try a few size modifications. By the time you're watching this, both of these patterns should be out, so I will leave them linked in the description below. Really, my goal for today is to complete 4 bandanas, but I do want to try and do more, but really 4 is the minimum that I want to get done. So I've already been crocheting a little bit today and I've completed 1 version already. Now this size modification is definitely made for smaller heads than mine, but I'll try it on for you guys just so you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like on. As I say, it's not the right size for my head, but I'll probably end up giving this to someone. I have planned with the bandanas that I'm making today, one of them is going to go to my boyfriend, and another one is going to go to my friend Maz, but it really depends on how many bandanas I make as to how many more I can gift away. I'm currently working on the second version of my retro bandana, and this one is the original size, but I'm changing the material. The original design is using acrylic yarn, but I'm going to use a bamboo cotton mix, just because with these bandanas you want kind of like a softer drapey yarn, and a bamboo cotton is a really nice option for that. I'm currently on my 6th row and it's building up really cute. It's currently 1 o'clock. I will update you guys once I've crocheted a little bit more of this bandana. Hi guys, so it's time I give you a second update. It's currently 4 o'clock and I've just finished my second bandana. So I suppose I'm kind of on track to getting those 4 bandanas done, even though I would love to get 5 done. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is how the bandana turned out. The bamboo cotton yarn ended up working really nicely with this project, and this is the original size, so without any size modifications, and I think this size suits me the best, so I'm going to try it on just so you guys can see what it looks like. Also, I have a feeling that this is going to be the version that I keep because I really like the way that this pattern looks with this sage color, so I'm going to quickly try it on. Now obviously I need to sew in my ends and block this, but this is what it looks like. I have no idea what the back of my head looks like right now. I am obsessed with this color. In between now and my last update, I've literally just been chilling, and for lunch I ended up having hummus on toast with pesto, which sounds kind of basic. It's been my favorite meal at the moment just because it's no more effort than making yourself toast, but it feels like so much more of a meal. My goal now is I want to make the retro bandana bonnet just because I want to change up the pattern that I'm using because I've made this one twice in a row. And when it comes to this bandana, I'm pretty sure what I want to do is make the original size but experiment with acrylic. Because with the retro bandana bonnet pattern, I've only tested it using bamboo and cotton. I do want to see if it looks any good with a fluffy yarn. So I'm gonna see if I have any like synthetic mohair and potentially pair that with like a thin acrylic yarn and see if that works. Whilst I do that, I thought I would share with you guys the process that I take when designing my patterns. I can make a longer video on this if you guys are interested. I just thought I'd kind of talk you through the steps that I like to take. So let's do that now. So I would say my pattern designing happens in stages. My first stage is literally just crocheting something that I like. I don't try and think too much past what is actually being made, so I will make that thing first and make sure that I'm 100% happy with it. For most of my patterns, I would say that I start off with around 4 prototypes before I find one that I like. Obviously, this will vary based on if I've made that thing before or if it's kind of a more complex thing. Then I might have to make more prototypes, but if it's something that I make quite commonly, then I can probably come up with a pattern within 2 to 3 prototypes that I'm really happy with. But I would say that it's really important that you are 1000% happy with what you've designed. So make sure that you haven't just made one thing. Even if you don't think it could be improved, make another version slightly different, and maybe there's something in that version that you prefer. Or it could be the case that you made something right the first time in a way that you want to start writing a pattern. But to be honest, I don't think you'd be too sure of that till you made more than one version of what you're trying to design. From that point, I literally write it down as if it was like directions on a map. Like I literally write step by step what has to be done throughout the whole project. And for me, this is just so I can check the maths is right and just make sure that everything kind of numerically and pattern-wise kind of makes sense. And then honestly, by that point, you've got such a solid foundation that you just need to go ahead and write in the descriptions and make sure that you go ahead and explain your steps as thoroughly as they need to be explained. Obviously, the next step is you need to actually write your document. And once you've done that, obviously you can go ahead and pattern test. And then this is where I place importance on kind of the way that the pattern is written, because I'm quite solid as to the pattern actually being correct. So what's left is kind of the understanding. For me, the pattern testing stage is really about the wording of the pattern and making sure that what you're saying is being translated, because you could write a pattern, but it could be quite hard to understand. So that's kind of where you can identify, okay, do I need to explain a certain part of my pattern more? Or have I explained it in a way that's really hard to understand? That's kind of where you get to ask those kind of questions. And after that, honestly, your pattern should be almost ready to go. That's kind of my basic approach on how I do my pattern tests. Right, so I have found 2 fluffy yarns, and I don't know whether I want to go and try and find another yarn that matches this color or find a yarn that complements it. I have found this quite thin acrylic, and I think these 2 would go quite nicely together, but I don't know if that's going to be too thin. Hey guys, so it's 8 now and I'm ready to show you guys my progress. I ended up using a different thin thread. This one's cotton, not acrylic. The other one was just crocheting a little bit strange, and for some reason the combination of these 2 were just a little bit easier to work with. And this is what the bandana looks like. I think it's super cute. It's not quite as fluffy as I want it to be, so I might see if I can brush it out, which I don't know if this brushes out. I'll probably do a swatch because I don't want to ruin it. I still need to do the straps and a few finishing touches. And actually, for my final bandana, because I don't think I'm going to get 5 done, I mean, unless I stay up really late, I think I want to do a scrap yarn bandana. Now I'm going to have a look through my stuff and see if I've got kind of a cute color story. Whilst I do scrap yarn projects, I don't like the look of a bunch of random colors. For me, the colors kind of need a theme, or at least I need to like the colors together. What I'll do is I'll finish this bandana and I will check in with you guys in a bit. Hi divas, so it's 2 days later and I've just spent this morning sewing in my ends and I'm ready to show you guys what all of these bandanas look like. Before I do that, I'll go through kind of what happened for the rest of the day. I ended up finishing that third bandana and I worked on a fourth one, and I was saying about doing a scrap yarn project, but I realised a lot of my actual kind of like smaller balls of scrap yarn were completely different sizes. So instead of doing a scrap yarn project kind of like the typical scrap yarn project, I found two smaller skeins of black and white yarn. I just stuck with those two. I was going to introduce a third colour, but out of all the yarn I had, I didn't really have a colour that I wanted to use. I finished off that fourth bandana in kind of like a scrap yarn kind of way, but not using scrap yarn. So I did actually end up finishing those 4 bandanas. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I am going to show you guys what they all look like. So this is the first bandana that I made using the retro bandana pattern, and as I said, this is definitely too small for my head, so I will be gifting this one. Not gonna lie, I don't know who I'm gonna give it to though. I'll probably text a few people and see if anyone wants it. I'm gonna give this bandana a 9 out of 10 because I do really like the way that this pattern looks in black, but as I say, this size is not made for me, so I will be gifting this. Next we have the second bandana that I made, and this one is definitely a 10 out of 10. I really like how this one looks. I feel like I'm kind of in my bamboo cotton era because I've been using it quite a lot and I definitely am getting a preference towards it. I've always been a cotton man, but I feel like for wearables, the bamboo cotton mix just drapes so much nicer, but that kind of yarn obviously isn't cheap, so I don't want to get too much of a taste for it. In between the fourth bandana that I made and this one, I really can't pick which one's my favorite. So yeah, loves it. Then next we have the retro bandana bonnets, and this is the third one that I made. And I really like this bandana, but it's just not really my vibe. The yarn did work really well, and the effect that is created is kind of what I wanted. As I say, I wish it was a little bit more fluffy, but I really don't want to have to brush this out. If you guys have any tips on using the acrylic mohair like yarn and what to do to make it more fluffy, please let me know. I think washing this might help because it will loosen the fibre, but I'm not 1000% sure. Now this one I'm pretty sure I'm gonna gift to my friend Maz because this is definitely her vibe, and as I say, it's really cute, but it's probably just not something that I would wear. I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10, but I'm really happy that I did this one just so I know that fluffy yarn does work. Maybe I'll try a version in brown or black and I'll probably like that one more. And then finally we have the fourth bandana that I made, and I did this kind of like, I suppose the pattern is kind of what you would expect from like a scrap yarn project, but obviously the majority of it is black. When it came to the color changes, I tried to keep things as random as possible. And when I say random, I don't mean evenly spread out. I mean the placement is kind of not purposeful. I think the placements of the stripes ended up really nice. I was gonna add a little bit more kind of like small areas of white, but I do think the stripes in this kind of V pattern right here does look really good. And for this one, I used double knit acrylic and a 4mm hook, and it does definitely give a little bit of a different vibe to the other bandanas that I made that are a little bit more light and flowy, but I actually think this turned out really well. With this one, I love it, but I probably won't wear it that much in summer. But when it comes to autumn and winter, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this. I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. The only thing that I will say is obviously adding these stripes makes the filet crochet pattern a little bit harder to see, but I think it looks really cool, and I would say that this one is very my style. Right, that's gonna be it from me today. If you guys are interested in making your own version of this bandana, I'll leave the patterns linked down below. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment any questions if you have them, and go ahead and check out all of my other social media platforms, which I always leave in the description below. Also, I forgot to say in the last few videos, but I've started posting on Sundays, and let me know what you guys think of that. Have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.